Order. I know we've got some tight schedules here, so we have some stuff here that's just sort of time sensitive that we just need to get through really quickly. The first is first agenda item, Townhouse Preservation Project slate roof update. I got a call while I was on vacation on Friday of last week from John Parent. This is relative to the slate roof. Apparently, the bid that we voted to approve the expenditure on didn't include I forget the exact phrase for these things, but snow retention rails along the perimeter of the roof that will keep snow from collapsing down. In particular, the worry is we're investing in these beautiful copper gutters, as well as there's some HVAC equipment that's going to be along the edge of the building that would also potentially suffer damage from falling snow and ice, as well as the new landscaping. So these things they're needed to offer this protection. The cheapest alternative is stainless steel, and the cost on that, he said, is approximately $39,000. Going with the historically accurate brass is, I believe, something like double that. So anyhow, with the approximate $39,000, the project will still come in within the original budget approved by town meeting, and will not touch the contingency funds that have been set aside. So that's where we are. It's my feeling that this is it's a shame that we didn't know this 3 or 4 weeks ago, but here we are, and it's something that I think is important. So my recommendation is an approval of it. It's sort of time sensitive. We got to get word back one way or the other to John so we can get in touch with the contractor. The cost is approximately $39,000. We don't have the exact cost yet, just due to the kind of quick nature here, but it's not going to be dramatically different than that number, is my understanding. We could address that in a couple of different ways. We could maybe tack on 10% and say we approve an expenditure of not more than $43,000 or something, or an expenditure of $39,000. And if it's different, the committee could potentially authorize me as chair to approve some small difference up to a certain point or something like that. Yes.
Quick question. So the idea would be to go with the stainless steel. We're not the brass. We don't want to discuss that, I guess. Okay.
Yeah. My understanding is that it will be painted black, and that's the color that the brass will turn relatively rapidly. Anyhow.
Okay.
Yes, Lisa.
Yep. Hold on, I gotta admit her. While I'm admitting Lisa, is there a difference in the brass versus the stainless, and forget the color and the the color and the historical significance, but also, you were able to get Lisa, good. But also, like, is there anything about longevity, or is there anything else that makes the brass superior to the stainless?
I shouldn't say the brass will turn black. The brass will patina and get that kind of greenish color to it.
Yeah.
Which the stainless will not do. In terms of longevity, my understanding is the stainless will win by a nose, but really not by much. But the big difference here is cost. I know John Parent is recommending the least expensive, the stainless option, and I think we all recall his infectious eagerness to do a historically accurate renovation, and he's very comfortable that the stainless will not take away from the historical appearance of the town hall. Lisa, did you have a question? I'm sorry.
I did. Thank you. I had actually just 2 quick questions. I just want to verify that these additional expenditures still fall within what the original bid, we still fall under what the original bid was.
We fall within the original estimate, which was the town meeting warrant article was based on. So yeah, we're not going to exceed that. And in fact, we are, we always, our policy at CPC has always been to add on a contingency also in case of change orders and so forth. This won't be touching that contingency.
Okay, and the second question is this something that needs to go back to capital on because it's an expenditure over, again?
Yeah, so we went through this, the originals, yeah, and this is an area that I think will probably be addressed by select board at some point. I heard comments to that effect, I believe, but there is no accepted limit. When do you have to go to capital? When do you have to go to selectmen? So the answer is not really. And then in addition to that, the appropriation was approved at town meeting with a scope of work that's fairly simplistic, but is described as the historical renovation / restoration of the townhouse. So this is work for which funding has been approved, and it is part of the scope that was approved by town meeting.
Okay. That's it.
Anybody else? Okay. So the last part of it is, John told me it's right around $39,000. I want to make sure we don't hit some stumbling block where we're short by $50 or something. Would folks be comfortable with something like approving? So adding 10% would bump it up to, I'm going to say right around $43,000. An expenditure not to exceed $43,000 for the installation of snow retention rails on the townhouse roof.
That sounds reasonable to me. Yep.
If somebody would care to make a motion to that effect, we can.
Yeah, I motion to approve an amount up to $43,000 for the expense for the rails.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
And let's see. We have to do a roll call vote because we're on Zoom. So the order I see here: Grant.
Aye.
Brett.
Aye.
Lisa.
Can I just add something, Ben?
Yes,
Can
please.
we need to get, do we need to vote tonight to get a full accounting of the costs for the roof for the CPC records as well?
Let me think here. We can certainly conduct that vote. I talked with John Parent today and told him that we will need, when he gets the actual figure, he's got to give us the paperwork on that.
Okay.
The full accounting, we get piecemeal with, and Freddie, correct me if I'm wrong, with each pay request, we get an itemized list of the work that's been performed to date.
Okay. Okay, then I'm a yes then.
Okay.
Thank you.
And Kristen?
Yes, Lavelle, yes.
And Smith is a yes also. Okay. Next up, the CPC application review process. This is just to give folks a heads up how this typically works. We begin accepting applications for CPC funding on August 31st, I believe is the beginning of the period. Applications are submitted to us. They're distributed to the members. We read through them. We hold a meeting where we, prior to meeting with any of the applicants, we go through each of the applications. We discuss any questions, comments, concerns that we have that we want to be addressed by the applicants. We then invite the applicants into a subsequent meeting or meetings to listen to their presentation. They will have already been provided some feedback from the committee on their applications, and we get the opportunity to ask questions make suggestions and so forth. And we then, having assuming that we've decided that the projects are fundable under the Community Preservation Act, and that the committee supports them, we work with the applicants to craft the best presentation package to go before town meeting to seek funding. And I will say that we have had extraordinary success in doing so in my 8 years on the committee here. I don't think we have failed to get a town meeting vote yet on one of the projects that we've voted to fund. I see Freddie has her hand up. I got something wrong. But your mic's off.
You didn't get anything wrong, Ben.
Okay.
But I did want to just add something, is because we have new members here, to be clear that the first go through the applications, it's not the committee, so that the applicants know this, it's not discussing the value or your support or lack of support for a project. It's really just the nitty gritty. Did they fill out the budget to your satisfaction? Is, things like, is it actually fundable? Do they need to take another step? It just streamlines giving them information that they can come back with, but it's not it's never been a review part of the process as far as, do you like it or not like it, that sort of thing. That because they're not there to, answer questions, but it has proven to be very helpful to streamline getting a full application in front of you and all applicants coming in fully prepared for what they need to present.
Great. Thank you, Freddie. Yeah, so again, it's a quick overview of the process that we're going to be embarking on very soon. This is sort of the nuts and bolts of what we do, and frankly, it's sort of the fun part. This historically has been sort of the fun committee. We fund the stuff that everybody likes in town, and it's enjoyable. Sometimes we get bogged down in some other stuff. This lightens things up, has been my experience. Next up, our next meeting date.
And
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Grant.
oh yeah, sorry. Just to clarify, is the application deadline is 31st, right? That's when the window closes, not opens. Is that correct?
It's when it opens.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So
Ben, I think
go ahead,
you're
Freddie.
talking two different things. Sorry, because we issued the application, we announced it, we sent it out to everyone and publicized it, and the applications are due on the 31st. So I think the phrasing might just be two different things. The applications are due, so the application period actually opened up when we put out the application.
I see.
The deadline to submit the application, and then the committee starts reviewing them at your next meetings.
Okay, I see. Thank you.
And without getting too down into the weeds tonight, this is something we should revisit in the future. But we've accepted applications pretty late in the process before, like in January, which really puts us under the gun getting things ready for a town meeting. So I think at some point we should have a discussion about actually making these deadlines sort of hard and fast and putting them on the website. But that's a discussion for another day.
Yeah.
Because we've got a limited time tonight, so I think I don't think we have time to really get too down in the weeds on that. Yes, Kristen.
Could I just say one thing? And this probably has already been done, but are we like publicizing this on Facebook? I think I have seen something. I don't mean to say I haven't, but I'm like, are we, really flexing all of our communication mediums to make sure the word is out there?
We've certainly been trying through, my Southborough Facebook and notices to all town committees and departments, and any suggestions that folks have to improve the visibility of this is always welcome. Always welcome. Freddie, I see your hand up.
Yeah, so we start with the annual presentation, which we publicized, and that's published in the newspapers. And in that presentation, PR, maybe not in the newspaper, it's a legal notice, is you should come to this if you're thinking of applying, right? And then that went out. We also send it to the town website announcements. It goes out on, is it Twitter?
Yeah.
And other things. When we first started, we put up flyers in all of the, the library, the town transfer station, and still, like, no one ever came to our presentations or whatever. So at some point, you can only do what you can do.
Believe me, I live that every day at work. The only other suggestion I'd have, only because the first one came today, and it's one of these things that I roll my eyes when it comes, but I read all of it, are the school weekly flyers. And it might be a way to reach just a younger demographic that really might not be in tune yet with, like, all the things in the town. It might pique some interest. So just an idea, because we have to read. I mean, I don't always read them. My kids are old enough now. I can kind of rely on them a little bit more, but it comes out on Friday, and it's most parents are going to read it because they're afraid of missing something until their kids get a little older and they rely on their parents. But I mean, they rely on their kids, but that's the only suggestion I put out there. Granted, it's 8/22, so we may have missed that opportunity unless we are considering extending.
Thank you. And then one last thing, this topic, so an admission on my behalf, I kind of messed up. So we haven't had these dates sort of as a hard and fast rule, sort of published on the website and on the application package and so forth. So I have been getting calls from folks who are in the process of applying, asking questions, and so forth. And of course, I'm always happy to help out with that. I suggest one of them is from Mr. Falcone, owner of the small brick building on Boston Road, that attractive brick building next to their gas station. And I suggested that they submit their application trying to get on for our in-person meeting tonight. Not meaning for anyone to jump the queue. They just had their application ready, and we originally looked like we would have time. But I don't want to give anyone the impression that that would somehow give one application a leg up over the others. It was, in hindsight, I shouldn't have done that. And this is why I say, perhaps we should have a discussion in the future about when exactly we will accept applications and when we will accept them too. But anyhow, it's already 20 after 7. We got a few more things to get through. The next thing up is setting a date for our next meeting. Does anyone have availability the week of September 11th? In particular, the 12th or the 13th, which are the Tuesday and Wednesday of that week?
I'm good either.
Sorry, could you repeat the date?
September 12th or 13th?
Yeah, that works for me. I think the 13th might be easier. Sometimes I have stuff on Tuesdays, but
Okay.
Historical, our meeting for next week just got canceled, and I think it will likely be pushed to the 13th. So I think the 12th would work better for me if that's possible.
And actually, as you're saying that, I want to check rec too. I don't know that our next one's set.
I would have suggested the Thursday, but I have conservation that day. And we, obviously we all have to be here. Hopefully we'll get new members soon, but until that point. Okay, Brett, it sounds like there's a chance that you might be available the 12th.
Yes, I think I probably should be. I'm not positive, so I'll double check, but I think I could be there.
I'm not a member, but I'm probably not available on Tuesdays anymore.
Oh, is that the week that you're not available, Freddie?
No, I'm just saying Tuesdays. Forever.
Oh, Tuesday. Okay.
It depends if I need shoulder surgery. I'm still
Yeah.
recovering.
Ben, what about the 11th? Planning board is meeting on the 18th instead of the 11th.
Oh,
On Monday?
I can do the 11th.
That's Monday, you said, Lisa?
Yep.
Okay, that's probably because reference to meet on.
Oh,
You're muted, Kristen.
your sound cut out, Kristen.
Yeah.
Monday works for me, I believe, the 11th.
For me as well.
Okay. Then let's pencil that in, Monday, the 11th for our next, and Freddie, you're available for that, yes?
Yep.
Perfect. All right, I'm just getting in the calendar here so I don't forget. Fantastic. Moving along. Okay, so CP3 reports to DOR. Every year we have to provide a report to the Massachusetts Department of Revenue. They are the watchdog who keep an eye on CPA expenditures throughout the Commonwealth. This ties into the next item on the agenda. We have all the information assembled. I was at the select board meeting prior to our last in-person meeting and spoke to the select board about needing to get records of CPA expenditures by the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. I was emailed on Saturday, actually, from Al Hamilton and Kathy Cook. They had put together most of the financial information we need. There's one more piece of the puzzle that we need. It's a fairly small one, and I think they'll be able to get that figure for us very easily. But that will allow us to get our CP3 report in. It turns out some CPA funds have gone to affordable housing and have been used appropriately and so forth. But I don't think the reporting necessarily captured all of that. So we're going to get that all straightened out this year, and so that we can move forward with confidence that everything we're reporting is an accurate reflection of what gets spent.
Is that like,
Yep, go ahead.
sorry, this part is, I guess I can't play the newbie role anymore, but like, so we need to report anything, so like recreation should have submitted something too, I assume, like.
No, so it's different with the Affordable Housing Trust because of the way the Affordable Housing Trusts are set up in Massachusetts. They're an interesting organization. They are given funding that they are able to then go forth and use without town meeting, without a town meeting authorization, so they can be agile enough to function in the real estate market. So because of that, there's sort of some specialized reporting we need from them.
Got it.
Recreation projects and so forth, we have all that.
That's right. So we're doing that as we go along, basically.
Exactly.
And sorry, last question, just for historical reference. What funds, or do we not know yet because they haven't submitted it? Or no, you said they did, went to affordable housing.
So of the approximately $240,000 of CPA funds, I may have that figure wrong. It's somewhere in that neighborhood. That have been given over the years. Approximately 122,000 of that has been spent, and the figure that we need to know is, of that $122,000, how much was spent in the last fiscal year? That's literally the one number that we need. The last number that we need to go forward with the CP3 report. So as I say, I think it's something they'll be able to put their finger on pretty easily, and the answer may well be zero. Whatever.
Ben, I'm sorry. I think the only thing in it, and I'm not sure if it fell within the last fiscal year, was for Shopsy. I think we funded part of I want to say the housing plan. I know Dorian's on here. She could probably answer it better. But as far as actual housing, the last housing monies we really spent was on Stockwell Lane, and that was like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Physically spent. Yeah.
And to really to really split hairs here, Lisa. So affordable housing has, as you know, funds from different sources, not just CPA. So things like the housing production plan, I think technically is not CPA eligible, but I'm sure it was paid for with other funds. So it's trying to nail down exactly what part of that $122,000 was spent over the past year, of actual CPA dollars.
Right. Okay.
I want to,
Go ahead, Freddie.
we should document this, but I believe I have read that the law has changed and all affordable housing trust fund monies must comply with CPA requirements. That doesn't, I'm not looking backwards, but I'm saying I believe the law has been, for the Affordable Housing Trust Fund legislation requires now that they comply with CPA. So it's not like they can use other funding in that trust fund for non-CPA eligible. I could be mistaken, so I'll send out the newsletter I read that said that.
That would be great. Thank you.
I just want to be sure that we all know that's a possibility.
Okay, yeah,
But it doesn't relate to this necessarily.
yeah. I mean, for our part, we have to, it's funds provided, by this committee. We are somewhat stewards of, and we have to be responsible in our reporting of. So we're tracking that down. So anyhow, like I said, Mr. Hamilton and Mrs. Cook provided that 95% of what we need in their letter. And this last little piece, I don't think will be difficult. So this is a letter. I apologize for circulating it today. I just got back from a 2-week vacation, and I didn't get it until Saturday, in fact. So it came at the last second. I apologize. For those who haven't had the chance to read it, first it was just providing us with this financial information, and then second, we've spoken about this to some degree in the past. This is the next agenda item, the Affordable Housing Trust Fund Committee correspondence. This same email, they mentioned that, I can't remember if it was 12 or 14 years ago, town meeting approved transferring funds, CPA affordable housing funds, to the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. I'll just give very brief history. For whatever reason, predating any of the current select board members, predating your term, Lisa, the Affordable Housing Trust Fund Committee, basically it went inactive for a period of about 10 years. And there's been a great resurgence of activity and interest in affordable housing lately, which is fantastic to see. They have approached us to get those funds transferred over. The total on those funds that was approved at a couple of different town meetings totals $197,000. It's simply been sitting there in our funds are held in a trust fund also, have been sitting in our trust fund, earmarked for eventual transfer to the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. Mostly through a lack of good communication, things have gotten a little weird between the selectmen and community preservation over the issue of these funds. And I can tell you, what I see going on is we don't communicate with each other. So when we think about each other's motives, we just make stuff up. Oh, they're doing that because of this, and no, they're doing that. And it's gotten us into a situation that I think we need to get resolved. I think it's I had a conversation with Andrew Dennington 3 or 4 weeks ago. And it was funny, after talking for about 5 minutes, we both realized that we are essentially on the same page, and like the last little tidbit that we don't agree on, you can easily compromise. And I think that's the situation in large part with the current select board. So I've been working with Freddie on coming up with some suggestions on how to potentially handle this. And I think we've come up with a pretty good strategy, just a way of handling this that I think will satisfy everybody, I hope. First, we authorize the transfer of the funds. We authorize Brian to transfer the funds over. We're going to accompany that with Freddie put together a succinct copy of the relevant legislation on the use of CPA funds by an affordable housing trust. It's a really helpful document. I will forward everybody a copy of that. It simply cites the relevant MGLs and gives a concise summary of each one. And I'll tell you, it's helpful to me being on CPC. I think it'd be very helpful to Affordable Housing Trust. Accompany it with that. And then Affordable Housing put together a strategic housing plan. And that hasn't been, my understanding is, has not yet been approved by the voted approval by the Affordable Housing Trust Committee yet. There are a couple of things in there that are just some simple, factual errors about community preservation and are things that we've done in the past. Again, because, there's just been a little bit of a lack of communication. So I think we ought to just signal to affordable housing that, we want to offer comment on the strategic housing plan, so that we have a good foundation moving forward. It's important just to, and I don't think none of these facts are controversial. It's it's the part of the document talking about the what various bodies have done historically towards affordable housing, and that what the various bodies have done towards affordable housing in the last 10 or 15 years really is not a ton, honestly. But it's important that we get things straight. So we would accompany with our response just an indication that we want to offer comment, as a stakeholder in the process. So questions, comments, concerns?
I have a few questions, but I'll let someone else go first because I think I went first last time.
Brent, Lisa?
One thing I just noted in the letter that Mr. Hamilton sent over was the potential for a warrant article on an upcoming town meeting regarding automatic transfer of CPC funds to the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. It was kind of thrown in at the end there, but it wasn't the focus of the letter. But I was just, I know that's not on the agenda, but
well, the correspondence is so everything.
Okay.
Everything within the correspondence, absolutely. So I think, well, for my part, this is where I have a difference of opinion. This $197,000. At the end of the day, town meeting did approve this. And I can understand this. I keep saying the Board of Selectmen, but it's the Affordable Housing Trust. The selectmen, of course, are the larger part of that. But I understand their position, and I applaud this interest in getting affordable housing done. And I would like to think that CPC can work with affordable housing as a partner in this process. And in that spirit, transferring over the 197. I think is a show of good faith, and also will enable them perhaps to get an affordable housing project off the ground.
Did they mention which one it's for?
So they have not. They don't have one. They don't have one lined up right now. What they want is to have the funds in hand so that if a project presents itself, they'll have the agility, to put an offer in on the real estate and so forth. Because the reason the Affordable Housing Trusts were set up was because prior to this, a property comes in the market and the town approaches the seller. Well, can you hang on for 9 months while we approve it through this committee and that committee, and then go to town meeting? And it was a very cumbersome process. And so the Affordable Housing Trusts were created to give towns the agility in the real estate market to actually get some affordable housing done. I'm sorry, I kind of lost my train of thought there. Did I answer your question?
No, it's okay. I know, because I'm sitting here thinking too. I mean, this is obviously, this is going through this process is totally new to actually a lot of us now on the committee at this point. So it's important. I think it's good discussion to have to just figure out, because what's going through my head is like previous discussions of why those funds weren't transferred. I mean, I agree with you. Like, we want to make amends here, right? Like, it doesn't help to have any committees not aligned. And to your point, I think in person, like, I think getting our committees together is actually probably important at some point here.
I couldn't agree more. Yeah, absolutely.
But it's just, to me, everything that I've thought I've learned up till now, there was a reason why we didn't transfer those funds. So that's why I'm just trying to understand kind of the difference to make sure we're doing everything above board.
Yeah.
And then make,
So the reason in the past was that, you know, during the application project, and this predates my time on the committee by a good chunk, but the applicant, in this case, Affordable Housing, you know, committed to, you know, quickly seeking transfer of the funds and using them. And, you know, whatever happened, we can't really describe it as quickly. It has been something like a dozen years ago. The former chair, Andrew Mills, and I met with Dorianne of Shopsy and with, oh gosh, planning board member, can't think of his name.
Jesse Stein.
Jesse Stein, thank you. To work out an agreement to get these funds released. And what we asked for was just a very simple description of sort of a plan for how the funds would be used. Like as an example, you know, we're seeking to find a single family home within town for conversion to an affordable for sale unit, something along those lines. We didn't receive that, but I want to be clear, what we did get was from Shopsy, the housing production plan, and from Affordable Housing Trust, this strategic housing plan, you know, which gives their overarching strategy for producing affordable housing in town. So I can argue it from both sides where, you know, it's not the exact plan we're talking about, but I can argue it from the other side where, yeah, it's even more than that. It's this overarching strategic plan. We end up where we are here today, and the argument has gone on and
right.
of such a nature that I think it was hurting the process. And and of course, nobody has to agree with me. My feeling is it's, I think breaking the logjam would be helpful to the process. I think it would be a show of good faith. And I still, Grant, I know I haven't answered your question yet, and I'm taking the long way to get there, but I'm going to do it.
Ben, can I add one thing?
Yes, please.
So I wholeheartedly understand and support the 196. I come at it from a couple different places. I sat on the trust and I sat on the board. But one thing I've learned in the last couple years from being on the board is town meeting doesn't necessarily not appreciate oversight to some degree on a lot of different things.
Yeah.
And I know council is of the mindset that, you know, monies can just be transferred over every year and leave it up to the trust. But I think the town has a level of trust in CPC. And I think it behooves us to actually ask the question, you know, what potentially is this going to be spent for, instead of just handing over $1 million and with no oversight whatsoever. I think that that's a disservice to CPC and the job that we're asked to do. So I'm just gonna.
And a disservice to the town too. Thank you, Lisa.
Yeah.
You put it much more succinctly than I would be able to. And in fact, so Freddie and I had a wonderful conversation with Stuart from the Community Preservation Coalition, and we got on to this very topic. And the recommendation of Community Preservation Coalition and Mass Housing Partnership is that community preservation funds for affordable housing be transferred to an affordable housing trust pursuant to an application that sets out not necessarily an exact project, although in an ideal world that would be it, but for the reasons we've already talked about, that's often impossible. But a somewhat detailed plan, like I gave the example, you know, we are seeking a single family home to turn into affordable housing here in town, or we're seeking you know, a piece of land that will support a multifamily development or whatever. But the funds get dispersed through an application, not as an automatic sweep over. And I am, you know, personally, I'm on the same page as you, Lisa. I don't think we should make the requirements, you know, ridiculously stringent. From what I can see, everybody on the committee here wants to see some affordable housing done. Also, we all take our responsibility to the town as stewards of these funds very seriously. And we've seen in very recent years, some complaints from a lot of different corners in town over funds being spent, for instance, without what folks thought was adequate oversight.
So, Ben, can I ask, and I've gone literally back and forth in my head for the last 5 minutes whether or not to ask this, but since we can't do it not on this forum, I'm just going to ask it again. And I don't even know everyone's position on this in this committee, but there seems to be a lot of controversy around 5 Courteville. I hope I have that number right.
Yeah.
And I know we've discussed the history, and I think there was I think that was the stem of that meeting that we all heard about. And that concerns me. And I don't know how the process works and if we even have a say in that, but is 5 Courteville in the picture here, do we think? And does that change anything? And I'm literally playing stupid here. I get it. I don't fully appreciate yet. I will, where those lines are drawn and those decisions get made. But you can't help but hear the talk around, the history and the talk and wonder.
Yeah.
Is this not an effort to spend the money and get 5 Courteville and whatever?
Yeah.
So I think I can help answer that. So I've received an update from the Historical Commission a couple meetings ago on that, and I think essentially where it stands is that the owner of the property is no longer interested in pursuing that, and actually I believe that they recently filed a demolition, or they had previously filed it with the with the building commissioner, and then the Historical Commission gets notified, but I believe they recently intended to continue moving forward with demolition. So my current sense of the status is that that preserving the building in that way is no longer considered to be an option, and that they're going to try to demolish it.
Yeah, and another piece of the puzzle, Grant, is that the property was already under contract during most of this discussion.
Yeah.
And in my understanding is there was actually some correspondence between the purchaser's attorney and the town saying, we've got a contract here and you can't interfere in a contract like this. There's a legal term for it that escapes me right now. A lot, Kristen, my impression that a lot of the discussion was almost hypothetical in nature. What if we have a project like 5 Courteville, and you greedy folks at CPC are being so tight-fisted with the fund. I'm exaggerating just to make the point, obviously.
No, I know.
So I can understand. Again, I can understand both sides of it. And I think starting off on a new page here, we will take care of the historical aspect, perhaps by transferring this $197,000. Potentially, as I described, with the a couple of requests along with it, and some very helpful information provided along with it. And then going forward, I think we have a responsibility to conduct, an application process, and at the same time, a responsibility not to make it arduous and not obstructionist in any way towards the provision of affordable housing. Is my feeling on it. So let me think here. Couple of things. Oh my God, it's almost 8. We would need to conduct a vote, I think. And even if we don't, I think it would be a good idea to conduct a vote to transfer the, I have the exact figure here somewhere on my machine, but $197,000 or so to the Affordable Housing Trust Fund, and that we accompany correspondence indicating this with I'm sorry.
Is it the stipulation that we can make comment on the report?
Yeah, with the stipulation that we will, we'll be offering comment on this report, that, for hopeful inclusion in it. And it will also be accompanied by this incredibly helpful document that Freddie took the time to put together, that literally just lays out the appropriate legislation with a really succinct, concise summary of how it applies to a community preservation funds within an affordable housing trust. So I think that's go ahead. I'm sorry.
And the fiscal year 23.
Oh, excuse me. Yeah, and we have to get
Okay.
that last number for the for our CP3 report. And I think the most helpful way to get that is if they could just simply ask Carla to print out the account statement for the Affordable Housing Trust just for last fiscal year. The information will all be in there, and we can paw through and find the figure ourselves. If they want to calculate it out themselves and tell us, X dollars of CPA funds were spent on this property, or whatever, that's fine too.
Can I suggest to make it clean for the now and the future, that you get a copy of the ledger and then a statement from the trust saying they spent this much money on such and such a project, or they spent no money, and that the ledger is just the backup? Because it needs to be the trust reports to the CPC, not us, because in a busy year could be a lot of things, and you don't want to be taking that responsibility. They know what they spent it on.
I guess the
projects.
Yeah, so I guess I would phrase it that and within the letter they indicate they're going to be reporting these figures to us every year by September 1st, which is great because the CP3 is due on the 15th. But we could also request that in providing these that they have Carla print out just a copy of the ledger and the account, just for the backup.
Correct. The only reason I was saying anything was that it wasn't clear in the letter if they meant they were going to provide that for this September 1st for the past year, or if they thought it wasn't clear if they thought that what they sent you was already accomplishing that, because it didn't really it wasn't specific to the last fiscal year, which is what I need to report for you by September 15th.
Oh, okay. So
there may be nothing.
Yeah. I almost suspect that the number actually is 0, but we don't know. We just need to find out. Okay, so another part of this is if we go forward using this path, you'd be placing a little bit of trust in me to put this correspondence together, which obviously you'd all be copied on. If you'd like to have some sort of check and balance on it, I think it'd be entirely appropriate. If you if you wanted.
Ben, I fully trust you, first of all, because you know a heck of a lot more than me, but my experience with commissions and committees, which again probably is not even equal to yours, would be to have a review in quorum and vote on it if it's going to be kind of a official statement, I guess.
Okay.
But I'm open to other people telling me I'm being too.
Yeah, no, if we went that route, I would suggest that maybe the committee would authorize me to just send a letter signifying our intent to the Affordable Housing Trust. We voted that, this is our intent. We just need to, review and vote on the final correspondence before it goes out. But here are the things generally that it's going to contain. It would be the topics of discussion tonight.
Before you release the funding, they happen at the same time?
Before, yeah, the funding, of course, couldn't be released until the committee voted to release the correspondence at our next meeting on the whatever date, the 12th or the 11th, excuse me.
11th, yeah.
I can send out that statement to everyone tonight.
Okay, yeah.
It's not a statement, it's the legal requirements.
Yeah, so just because I got the correspondence on Saturday, I would like to get back to them, and I'd like to tell them, this is what we're doing we're not sitting on this. This is what we're doing going forward. And I think we're talking about a total of a 3-week turnaround, which frankly is not bad.
For this many years, that's pretty good.
Excellent point, Pat. Okay, so would folks be, I don't think we need a formal vote on this, but generally comfortable with me sending a letter indicating that we intend to we will conduct the vote, but sort of by a straw poll. We intend to release the funds with the attachments in correspondence that we've discussed. The info for the CP3, the information about the appropriate legislation, and not sure what to call the last one, but the fact that we're going to be offering comment on the strategic housing plan. Does that sound?
I think the
Sounds good to
name
me.
of it, can you correct me, Lisa? I think the name of it is the Strategic Financial 5-year plan for the Affordable Housing Trust
I
Fund.
have the document. I just have to look it up. I have it.
Yeah, I just think it's not to be confused with their housing plan. It's
Not
a
the housing plan.
financial plan,
Yeah.
strategy or something.
Yeah, so obviously that initial correspondence is sort of a statement of intent or whatever. Everyone will be copied on that. And I would envision that going out tomorrow morning.
Thank you.
Great. Okay, perfect. So I guess no vote on that tonight. We'll take a vote on the 11th. Frankly, that covers the next agenda item too. That's all I have to report is that correspondence. We've got 4 more minutes left in the hour. Has everyone had a chance to look at the minutes?
No, but we'll do it right now.
Okay.
While we're looking at this really quick, can I just make a last request? It's more an item of interest and separate from what I think we just talked about, but could we clarify if there are, and I don't know who this is, but how do we clarify if there are updated CPA requirements around the use of the Affordable Housing Trust funds? That came up specifically when we were talking about whether or not some of that paid for the housing plan or not. I just think it'd be good for us to have clarification on that for future discussions.
I think Freddie.
I will send it out. I'll do a dig.
Thank
Not
you.
that what I would say is in my comment, it's not the CPC's job to
Oversee that.
monitor what
Yeah.
the Affordable Housing Trust Fund spends money on, just that the Affordable Housing Trust Fund expenditure of CPA money has to comply with CPA is where we stand. I was just correcting a comment that they can spend the money on other non-CPA compliant.
Okay.
And that may have changed. They used to be able to, and the legislation worked to put the two in sync, so there wasn't a disconnect.
Got it.
Because they ran
That's
into
more for my
trouble.
own. Yeah, that's more out of curiosity because I get your point in terms of where lines and boundaries.
Yeah, I would never suggest that the committee needed to monitor them, but I did want to correct a statement that, or a perception that might be a misstatement. And I will get that info out to you tonight or tomorrow.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Appreciate the clarification too. Good point.
All right. Yeah, folks, just let me know when you're either comfortable with the minutes or have a change you'd like to make.
Ben, can I offer a suggestion on the minutes?
Absolutely.
So one of the things I noticed as I went through is sometimes people's names are just an initial and sometimes it's their physical first name is
Yeah.
written. Can we just decide if we want to do one or the other? Just for consistency, because at one point Kristen's name is listed and then in another paragraph, it's just Kay LeVault instead of
Yes.
Kristen LeVault. So just for consistency.
Yes.
One way or the other is fine.
Yeah, so Betsy's not here this evening. She is not feeling well. But we can, is everyone comfortable with that?
Yep, that sounds great.
Okay.
Sure.
Yeah, so we can ask Betsy that.
Which do you want though?
Whatever easiest for Betsy. I
I
understand.
kind of think full names, because if
I
anyone
agree.
actually reads our minutes, it'd be nice if they,
Yeah.
you know, it'll
Yeah,
just click
but I mean,
better.
it's got to be full name at least once in the minutes, and then it could be neutral
No.
after that.
I prefer just consistency with
Full name.
full name. Yeah.
Fair enough.
I write. I've been doing historical commissions minutes, and I've been doing in the vein of what continuing what Kate Battles had done previously. Mr. Farrington,
Yeah.
Ms. Pfaff said, Mr. Miller and all that. So, but that's personal preference, I think.
That actually works too, just
Yeah.
for consistency.
Yeah, because
Okay, so for consistency, what does the committee want so I can tell her? Is it the Miss, Mr., or sometimes the Miss
Yeah,
may
I
not
would
work?
say that names, honestly, if
names are
we think
better.
about this day and age, like
good point.
applying Ms., Mr., or Mrs. might be a little presumptuous, and maybe
Yeah.
we should just stick with names.
Good point, Kristen. So yeah, Freddie, if you do happen to speak with Betsy, perhaps we should just go with full names.
Okay.
Any other questions, comments, edits?
Two minor edits in the second paragraph of Townhouse Preservation Project on the first page. The last line of the second paragraph, I think there should be a space between over and time.
Yep.
270,000 over time. And in the second line of that paragraph, she explained that the slate roof will last up to 100 years. Based on my recollection, it was up to 100 years with proper maintenance. I don't know if that's worth adding or not, but that's
Yeah.
just a
Yep.
suggestion. Okay.
Yeah, with appropriate maintenance or something like
Yeah.
that.
Something like that.
Okay.
That's it for me.
Anybody else?
I have nothing.
Would somebody like to make a motion to accept the minutes as amended?
So moved.
Thank you. And is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Kristen. All right. In order as I see you, Grant,
Aye.
Brett,
Aye.
Lisa,
Aye.
Kristen,
Aye.
and Ben Smith is an aye also. All right. And with that, 2 minutes over. It's time for everybody's favorite motion. Would somebody care to make the motion to adjourn?
I make the motion to adjourn at 8:03 p.m.
Thank
Second.
you. And we have a second. Grant,
Aye.
Brett,
Aye.
Lisa,
Aye.
Kristen,
Aye.
and Ben is an aye also. So everyone, thank you so much for scrambling to get this together tonight. We had a couple of things that were time critical and needed to be addressed, and it's so tough with not having enough members right now in the committee. So thank you all for doing this. It's much appreciated, and we got done what we needed to.
Thank you so much. And good
Thank
luck
you,
with
everybody.
Thanks,
Take
everyone.
care.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
Bob.
Good night, everyone.
Bye.
Good night.